So I'm making this video just as more of a storytelling type of video. And the storytelling type of video is more like, who is blessed, or who is blessed, as Shreddy would say it. And kind of like the story behind who I am and kind of how I made it to where I have the accolades that I have. Because I feel as if there's a picture that could be painted for my success and for everything that I have, but I've never really told any story about it, or really ever, talked about any of the trials, the tribulations, any of the times that I've had as I'm taking a step towards each goal, as I'm taking a step towards each thing. So first, let's start with who I am. So I am a two-time national champion for the 90 kg weight class. I, at one time where I wish I could actually say the full sentence of being like, oh, I'm unofficially, or was unofficially, a world record holder for a weight in a total that is actually the current world record right now. However, my bum self decided not to lose an extra 0.8 kilos, so that way I could officially log my weight in as a 93. But at 93.8 kilos, I totaled 895 kg back in 2021, which got me second place at what was supposed to be the premier meet for USAPL, etc., but we all know kind of what's going on with USAPL. Yeah. Also been named the 2023 USAPL Athlete of the Year, and these are some accolades and achievements that I've had over the course of my tenure in powerlifting, right? How did I accomplish all those goals other than just being strong? Because of course, the strength is the reason why I was able to win. The strength is the reason why I was able to have these achievements and be able to, be this person in the sport, right? But what if I told you that going into 2021, and honestly, we can even backtrack all the way to when I first got started into powerlifting, right? Because I feel like a lot of people think that success happens very fast because they see it online, right? Or you see the social media people and you see that they post highlight after highlight, and they may post a meet and they may do well at it, or maybe they don't do as well as their training numbers, but because of the cloud and because of just how excited they are, a lot of people don't even look at the actual objective numbers being put up versus what they're PRing in the gym, and things get kind of misconstrued, right? So let's start from the very beginning. For me, I bombed out my very first meet. Very first welcome into powerlifting, very first here you are moment, I bombed out. I did have a coach at the time. I had someone who gave me a program, and he kind of looked at my lifts every once in a while, but I wouldn't necessarily say that was coaching, because I also didn't pay him, and he was more doing it just to help me out, right? So I show up to the competition by myself. I'm thinking everything's in the bag. Wrong. So I go in for squats, and lo and behold, I was not hitting depth. Funny enough, I was not hitting depth, right? So I took that, and to where most people, I feel like, will take that moment and decide to wallow in it, decide to cry, decide to give up on the sport, decide to be mad. I was just like, no, I see what I need to fix. Bet I'm gonna work my ass off to make sure that my squat is solid. I'm gonna work my ass off to turn this shit around and then get my registered total, because I know I'm fucking strong, right? And I did that. I turned around, I think 2.5 months later, I did a meet in Fort Worth, funny enough, and that's where I actually ran into a lot of people in the industry for the first time, to where some of them are my friends still to this day, and others are really my enemies. And it's really cool just having that experience in general, because I never would have thought, looking back at it, that my first true meet after me coming back from bombing out, what I considered my first redemption meet, that competition kind of set the course for me in my powerlifting journey, right? And from there, I went to my first nationals. I think that I got top 10 or top 8 in the juniors. Didn't really place top 10 or anywhere close in the open at that moment in time. Did I care? Did I let that get to me? Not at all. I just went back to the drawing board. I knew my goals. I knew what I wanted to be in this sport, and I worked my ass off, right? So then I ended up getting a coach, I was able to then progress my lifts, and it wasn't an easy journey during during my tenure with my first coach, as far as like getting strength, because I was getting stronger. But I mean, there was nights and days and moments where I was in either immense pain here, or I wasn't able to squat like any type of weight this day, or I wasn't able to bench this day, or just because of like whatever pain levels, right? And then I had my moments of rising to the occasion come meet day, to where I remember failing squats in the 600s and failing deadlifts in the low 600s. But then come competition day, I'm deadlifting 700, I'm squatting 640, and I'm looking like I have progression, right? And my bench press, I was able to bench press like 420s, 430s, and I was just like there. But I ended up staying there for like kind of a while. And then I remember my first time I worked my way and earned my way to my first primetime selection in 2019. And that meet really didn't go that well, right? For me personally, just the way I was looking at it, the way I thought my strength could peak, where I thought I could possibly competitive wise. And regardless of what anyone was really telling me, or regardless of what anyone else thought of me, I knew that I had the strength to be not a top contender, but I knew I had the strength to be the best in the world, right? I knew that from the very beginning. No matter really what I was facing, I just knew it was a matter of like, what do I have to do? What do I have to change? What approach do I have to make to just get that consistency, right? So after that competition, took some thought, and I switched coaches, and that's when I met Marcellus, and discussed the game plan. And it was not easy at first at all. It wasn't like I hopped on with Marcellus and I was hitting PRs left and right, and everything was just gravy, and I was just like really strong and everything was cool. Not at all. The first couple of blocks, really like the first 3 blocks, I would even say, I was trying to just hit the numbers that I knew I could hit back before, because there was a lot of building up into a new system. There was learning my body, learning when I'm strong, learning when I'm weak, what works for me, what doesn't, what does my body handle well, fixing my techniques. There's a lot of things that had to go on. So it was a lot of rough sessions. It was, not to mention, during that time, I actually had like, I would say quote unquote, real jobs, right? I had it to where I was working a 12-hour or 14-hour shift sometimes, having to go and work out after that late at night by myself, or sometimes having to work out early in the morning and then to be at work all day. And then there were so many things that I was doing at that time, and other stresses, and trying to pay my way out of debt, like really doing real life things that matter, right? And trying to fix myself during all of that. So finally started getting some momentum, and I finally started hitting some PRs. I finally felt really strong, and I was like, yes, this is the strength that I knew I could hit. And I was just like, this is what I'm talking about. I knew I could be competitive, right? Boom, pandemic happens, COVID happens. All of that shit goes down south, because I actually ended up hurting my groin right when the pandemic happened. So I didn't even have access to the right equipment to help get me through my injury a lot faster. And then during that time, I was working out in the shed, had like a single squat rack, I was dealing with all those type of personal things, and I was just trying to work, and I was showing up, and every day it wasn't easy. I was maybe whining here, or I'll be in pain this time. I just remember just fighting through multiple sets of just doing 550 for a single or 550 for a double, and being in pain, and just knowing that as long as I'm getting this work in, that it would pay off one day. Like, I'm showing up and I'm doing everything smart, but I'm also working hard at the same time, but I know that this is going to pan out. So fast forward, I get over that injury, summertime comes, I'm starting to get some progression again, and I'm starting to feel good. However, within that, I get re-injured because I pushed myself a little bit too hard, lifted a weight I shouldn't have lifted, especially post. I actually got sick. So post getting sick, I lifted a weight, or tried to squat a weight that I shouldn't have squatted. It messed me up a little bit, and then boom, I'm back with like a slight back / slight groin injury again, to where the main thing that I'm pushing is bench and deadlift, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me and my squat, trying to figure out what's going on with my hip. And I started just learning more, started listening to Marcellus, started consulting with Derek. And y'all don't know Derek Akune. He has his doctorate in physical therapy, and he specializes in pain science, and especially for the barbell athlete. And he has really helped me out into where I know how to address and assess my pains, especially separating them from actual injury, right? So, boom, back to the drawing board, build myself back up. And I'm like, all right, no, I'm gonna figure this out. I remember consulting with Marcellus a lot and really just trying to figure out what does work for me, what is making me better, what is making me feel good, and how am I getting past this injury. And we came together and collabed on a very successful plan that ultimately became the base of my programming as it is today, to where I got myself out of that. And I remember in end of February or March of 2021 was the first time that I was able to hit my 650 squat again. I was back in the 700s on deadlift. I was able to bench press I think I bench pressed 474 for the first time, or 460 something for the first time as well. And everything was going great. Like, everything was finally clicking again. And I was like, yes, like, time to, have a good, decent total, competitive total. Fast forward, because it's post-pandemic and everything like that, I wasn't really wanting to travel like that. I really wasn't trying to go to Florida. I wasn't trying to go to the national scene. So just being around just that environment in Florida, I was just like, and then just seemed kind of like a weird trip in general. And I was like, you know what? Let me go do something different. Let me go have fun for my first meet back, right? And I wanted to go to do Carolina Primetime. And 2 weeks out is typically when I, at that time, would take my heaviest lifts. And let me tell you, when I thought that I was gonna be like everything was gonna like be beautiful, I thought I was gonna be able to hit my top end squat, hit my top end bench, hit my top end deadlift, kill it, and then really set myself up for going into the competition. Yeah, that really wasn't the case. I had a family member of mine passed like a month before that, and I pushed through all of that. And there's some other personal things going on, and I think that the stress and just everything that just led up to that day and that moment made it to where I really wasn't ready to push, and I really wasn't at a position. Even though I felt physically fine, I think that I was in more fatigue than I really took for granted. And I grinded like a 600 squat, and it was like RP 10, right? And this is me, I'm thinking I'm trying to squat 660, 670. So that was a crush to my ego. I grind a 418 bench, and I'm thinking I'm gonna possibly bench press 474, 480. I deadlift 680, and I tried to possibly deadlift 740, 750, and the 680 felt like, it was fairly tough. And at that point, I was like, man, like, why? I was just like, I have no confidence. Like, I don't feel good going into it. And I was, venting about it a little bit. And at the end of the day, you still got to show up. So I took that, made sure that I was able to handle and address everything that I could after that. And after I just let my feelings soak in, I still showed up to the competition, showed up on the day. And guess what? Had the best competition, best total that I ever had. And it ended up being like a top 5 total in the USAPL at the time, and really like a top 5, top 10 total across the world. I totaled 845 kg, which at that time was like really, really huge, right? And I was happy, and I was healthy, I was strong, I found a system that worked for me, I had good momentum, and I was ready. So I started going to the summer, I started killing my summer workouts, and I had picked up a job working at a gym while also doing my online coaching and trying to balance the two and work that out. And guess what that led to? A lot of stress. A lot of other things happened which were more self-inflicted on my part, but I had personal life stressors, and I had work-related stressors, financial stressors. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in between that Carolina Primetime performance and the competition I'm about to talk about, which is that Virginia Pro performance, where I unofficially, for real, unofficially had the world record total, because I didn't even weigh in the weight class because I'm a bum. But regardless of all the stressors that I went through during that prep, I focused hard in the gym. Whatever I had going on outside the gym, I dealt with that, did whatever coping mechanisms I did, whether it be good or bad. And I focused really making sure that I was able to set myself up for success. And I went numb. I did not care how weights felt in the gym. I just knew what I needed to do in the gym. I knew that I could sit down and stand up with something. I knew if I could bench press something or not. I didn't care if it felt heavy. I didn't care if it felt light. At that point, I was just doing the work, and I was just on. I was working out, whether it be 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 p.m., early in the morning, midday, it didn't matter. Whatever ended up being the best time for me to just go in and get some lifts in, I did that, and I made sure that I was able to work hard through it. And I had a lot of sessions. I remember taking a trip out to the Carolinas during this prep because I wanted to try and get away. And I remember needing to drive 4 or 5 hours from where I was staying to get to a gym late at night, no spotters. And I had to pause squat 584 for like a set of 4 or 5. I forgot what it was. And I remember going to the gym. My body felt fatigued. But at the end of the day, mentally, I was just like, I need to do this, and I'm gonna do this weight. Like, I don't really care. I'm either gonna do this weight and fail and possibly die, or I'm gonna succeed and be very thankful that I committed to just getting the work in. And I committed, turned it on. I was able to complete that session, and that made me feel very, very good afterwards. Now, before that, I was hella scared, but afterwards, I was very thankful that I had the heart and the will to just get through it, right? And then I would say that Virginia Pro Prep was the one to where it was the first time that I had good training leading into a competition, and I also had a good performance going into that competition. But guess what? That was the only time that has happened. That was the only time that I got myself into that position. That was it. That was the first and only time that I had solid training and a solid performance, right? So after that, again, more self-inflicting bullshit, to be honest, that I had to deal with post that, to where, again, chaos is chaos. And whether you self-inflict the chaos or the chaos is just randomly thrown up on you, you still have to work through it to get to your goals. And it doesn't necessarily make it less troubling just because you're the one that's doing it to yourself, right? If anything, it could be even more troubling, because once you have that awareness, you realize that you did it to yourself, you feel even shittier, right? So you're working through a bunch of bullshit, and then they changed the weight classes. And at this point, I have Bob as my competition, and I'm trying to work through my bullshit. I'm also trying to stay competitive with Bob. Bob's training is going well. Bob's training is going amazing. He's locked in. My training is not going that great. I'm not as locked in. I'm dealing with whatever things that I have to deal with. And I decided after, I'm talking about, like, I hit a turning point in my mindset to where I was so beat up, so defeated. I was failing sessions, failing lifts. I was not feeling good. I just felt achy, and I was dealing with the outside life stress. And at 7 weeks out from nationals, I hit a switch, and I said, no, like, I'm not taking this. So I legit decided to just work my ass off. And everything, like, whether it came to my relationships, whether it came to my family, whether it came to whatever, I said, I'm going to do the work. And no matter what, I'm just going to wake up and just do. Like, I don't care what trials, what tribulations come across. There's enough hard work that can go into it that can fix it or make it to where it's not an issue. Like, and if it, even with my hard work, it still is an issue, I can just forget about it, right? And that's what I did. I remember flipping that switch, and I owned the next 7 weeks going into competition. And I decided that it wouldn't really be fair to myself or to Bob to try and compete with him or even set that stage at that moment. So I decided to do something a little bit different and stay closer to my original weight class, because I felt better being lighter. And I decided to go 90. And that was one of the best decisions that I ever made, because I ended up going into that nationals post all the troubles, plus, post the tribulations, post all the things, post all the wounds, and still set, for real this time, the unofficial world record at the time with 882.5 kg, weighing 89 kg, not even 90, but weighing 89 kg, so 4 kg under the 93s. And that meet wasn't even easy. I just remember telling myself, I was like, I ended up missing the first squat on depth. And I said, hey, from this point on, I'm literally going to give 110% of my effort to the rest of these 8 lifts. I do not give a fuck. Like, I'm going to give my 100% to these lifts. Killed the second squat, killed the third squat, bench opener flew, killed the second bench, killed the third bench. My mind was completely numb, and I was laser focused on getting the job done, laser focused on my goal, and making sure that every single lift from that point on was not going to be wasted, because I worked way too damn hard to have a subpar meet. Like, it wasn't going to go down like that. So that's what drove me. And those are the things that you don't see. Those are the things that you don't hear. Those are the things that you don't really get a chance to witness, that things aren't always peachy, but you have an opportunity and a chance to demand greatness out of yourself. You see the highlights, but you don't understand the mindset, what it has to be in order to achieve those highlights on the gram and be able to achieve the highlights of those awards of being the best lifter on the day, being able to set unofficial world records. It's like, if I had any less of a mindset, if I had a weaker mindset, all the goals and everything that I've achieved so far be gone. Me being a top-ranked 93 athlete right now wouldn't be here if I had a weaker mindset than what I was blessed with, right? And then again, that's why it's blessed or blessed, whatever you want to say, because I'm blessed not because of the victories that I have. I'm blessed because God made me into a human being with free will that can determine my fate based upon my actions, right? And that's why we are all honestly blessed, because we have that choice. You can choose mediocrity or you can choose excellence. Either way, it's a fucking choice. No matter what. You can whine, you can feel things out, things can suck, things can be tough, but every single time that door is there of tough, shit sucks, I'm going through a hardship, we have the keys to unlock that door and then enter a room of opportunity, greatness, achievement, success. The thing is, we just have to pick up the keys. We have to do the hard work. We have to still do our job. We can't just yell and scream at the door for not opening. We have to fucking open it, right? So going forward, I then get this weird scar on my back, and I couldn't even low bar anymore. It just hurts so bad. I still have that scar to this day, but I think the nerves in it are finally just like dead, so I don't feel the pain anymore. But that thing lasted for like months, almost a year even. And I remember I had to do high bar for a good amount of time, and that was tough. Like, I was traveling a lot, doing high bar. I tried to experiment with a deli bar. That shit ain't work. And training was just kind of like all in the air, right? And I thought that I was, pretty good. I thought that I was, chilling. I honestly can say that I was having fun in my training at that point, to be honest. Especially with the high bar block, just feeling something new, getting stronger there. My bench was going up, and I was just having fun. I decided to take a break from competitions, and I was just really gearing up for the Arnold. Now, this is where I say, kind of changed a lot of things for me, right? I mean, most people who are watching this know exactly what happened at the Arnold. But one of the things that I really appreciate about the Arnold prep is it's the first time that I dealt with a lot of trials and tribulations, even through that prep. I mean, I had my neck seized up to where I couldn't do anything for a whole week. I couldn't even eat or drink anything for 3 days. Like, I couldn't sleep, couldn't lay on a pillow. It was bad. But even then, I still had like a lot of successes during that prep. I had a lot of PRs, right? A lot of good training momentum. I was posting, I mean, I'm not about to retell the story. There was a whole beef situation that I'll talk about how that weighed on me mentally. But I was killing it in training, and I was like, I am about to change this shit and change the scope of what we thought 90s and 93s are capable of. Yeah, spoiler alert, that didn't happen. So I ended up having one of the best preps ever, and I had the worst meet that I ever had. Period. Public display, in front of a crowd, in front of thousands online, right? Then that failure gets posted, and that failure gets talked about, and that failure is like a topic of discussion in this very niche community for a long time, for months, right? Really, pretty much until I redeem myself. And at that point, as an athlete, especially a competitive one like myself, and like I know that you guys are, each day you're trying to prove to yourself that you're still him, that you're still that dude, like that you still have it. And every single time a session goes well, you're like, yes. Every single time a session doesn't go well, that can kill you. And mind you, I still have a job to do. I still have athletes to take care of. I still have to be mentally right for them. I still have to make sure I show up to those competitions. I got to make sure I show up and talk to those people. And this industry or this fitness space, it really shows their true colors whenever you're going through public adversity, because at that moment is when I found out, just like how people can be fake. I already knew people were fake, but like at that moment, it really hit me hard, like how fake people were, how fake people are, how people can mistreat you, how people can turn their back on you, and how people sell you out, right? Just depending on what favors them at the time, and them picking sides and choosing a side for honestly no reason, right? So dealing with that on a daily basis, it weighs on you mentally. But guess what? No one cares. It's either I redeem myself at this next competition, or I'm a failure. Those are the only options. I redeem myself, or I suck, or I'm a failure. I ain't shit, right? And I was carrying that with me every single day, and had to turn around 12 weeks later and put up a performance that technically hasn't been done before, right? Or else I'm a failure. I can honestly tell you that about half of those sessions went well. And I still had to have the faith of, nah, like I know how strong I am. I know I'm gonna show up. I know this is gonna be done because I said so. Like, nah, this is it. So you show up on the day, you're 100% confident in yourself, but you're not 100% sure that things are gonna pan out right. And then you're going through the competition and you don't get your third squat. Damn, okay, but nah, like I got 684. Like I'm gonna bench something stupid and I'm still gonna deadlift something stupid. You go 2 for 3 on bench because of miscommunication on the opener, and you only bench 450, and you're like, what the fuck? You're like, nah, this can't be happening. No. Like, you look and see what you have to pull in order to at least get your American record back. And it's aside from the game plan. The game plan was at the most 810, right? But you look and I have to pull 820 what? I have to pull 820 what? Yeah. In order to make that moment happen, I had to flip a switch in my mind to say, I'm gonna be the best deadlifter in the world right now, or at least try to. And I went into the warm-up room, I pulled 485, made it move fast as fuck, and at that moment I was just like, I'm gonna pull 821. And that was the only thing that I was focused on. Opener, second attempt was nothing to me because I already knew it had to be nothing in order for that 821 to be achieved. And that's the emotion. That's what you saw in the clips. If you've seen it, you saw how much I poured into that lift and how much, just everything that I let out after that is because I needed that to happen. Regardless of what I felt, regardless of what was going on in the day, it had to happen. And that mindset is what allows you to achieve things, right? It's not necessarily having things go well, but it's about when things are going to shit, how can you pull out greatness from nothing, right? And that is what you need in this sport to be in this long term, to be able to be a champion. when it isn't just like a natural talent at first. That's what you got to have, right? And then fast forward, you do that. I'm gonna fast forward, and I go out with NASA second time. My athletes are all medaling, right? I win athlete of the year. And you turn on a podcast, and you turn on this podcast, and you turn on this podcast, and everyone just still shits on you. Shit on you. And all your accomplishments, and every single accomplishment and accolade that you threw together doesn't mean anything anymore. It's trash. I'm not competitive. I don't stand a chance against this person or that person. I'm gaining weight, but hey, I don't stand a chance. Oh, even if he does somehow make it, like, he will fail at the world stage. And it's one of those things to where don't get me wrong, it still bothered me, right? But it fuels me. And it's something that I'm used to. And, you have a bunch of things going on in life, right? Like, I moved. You still have the other issues that may come across, personal life-wise, family-wise, more deaths in the family. There's other things that happen. But the thing is, if I let any of those things get to me, if I let bad sessions in the gym get to me, if I let things not going well get to me, if I let myself not trust in a plan, and let myself not trust in myself, let myself not trust in my coach, let myself not trust in the process of something that I know this is what matters in order to be great, is like, I'm gonna show up on the platform. I'm gonna show up when it matters most, because I understand what I have going on. I'm aware of what I have going on. I know the hard work that I need to put in to make sure that I adapt and I can still show up, right? That's how champions are created. And during this prep, that's the same thing that's happening. I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna show up. And one of the things that is gonna happen, because I know how much I need it and will will it, is I'm gonna be a champion again. Simple as that. And that's the mindset you have to have, even if it happens or not. Because guess what? People gonna talk shit regardless. So you might as well go in thinking that you are something, because everyone else in the world will tell you that you're nothing. So that's who Blessedt is. That's who Blessed is. Thank you guys who actually watched this whole thing. I appreciate you. This was just like a transparency. Just wanted to give like an actual talk type video. Also getting used to having an actual setup and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So that way I can actually record videos again. And yeah, I'll see you guys at Nationals. Stay blessed.